Hey there, my wedding planning friends, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on my video. I'm Emily Summer. I'm a wedding planner based in Montana, and I make weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice. Today's video is all about wedding decor, and more specifically, the average cost for the most common decor elements at your wedding. Now keep in mind that the numbers I'm about to discuss are the national average in the US. So this isn't what to expect in your area and what to kind of go in expecting to pay, but this is just kind of an average of what the entire country pays for these common items. And there's a lot of factors that are going to go into what the actual specific cost is for you in your area. But if you have absolutely no idea what to even expect for a lot of these decor elements, this is kind of a good baseline guessing point when it comes to building out your actual full wedding budget. And honestly, I was kind of surprised by some of these average costs, as they are, for some of them, quite higher than what I see in Montana. And I do think that there are parts of Montana that are pretty pricey when it comes to the wedding industry. So just keep that in mind. These numbers are very subjective to a lot of different factors when it comes to your wedding, but they are just the national average here in the US for each element of your wedding decor. Okay, so these numbers came from brides.com. That's where I got this information from. Number one, centerpieces. Now this is going to have the largest amount of factors that will go into the overall price, so keep that in mind. But the national average couples spend on centerpieces for their wedding is between $150 and $650 per centerpiece. For aisle florals, so this is any florals at your ceremony that are going down the aisle, the national average is $1,500 to $5,200. Now, just a little side note, florals in general are one of the things that are going to probably cost the most when it comes to decor for your wedding. So a lot of these are floral based. And again, there's a lot of factors that go into the specific floral arrangements rather than just the category of florals. So like aisle florals, there's so many different ways you can go when it comes to aisle florals. Or is it going to be stuck into the ground? Are they going to be freestanding vases? What kind of florals are in there? Are they dried? Are they fresh? Are they in season? Are they local? All those things are going to play a very large role in this. Next is the ceremony floral arch. This ranges on average between $2,000 to $7,500. Obviously, the more florals you have, the more lush, large flowers you have are going to cost a lot more when it comes to your ceremony arch installation, as well as what the shape of the arch is and how that is installed. Welcome table florals. So this is typically a table where you have your guest book, maybe a card box, a place to put gifts, a place that you maybe have some personal items or photos, a welcome table that your guests see upon arriving at your wedding. On average, couples will spend about $250 for florals on this table. Linens. This encompasses a linen drape on your guest table, as well as runners, as well as linen napkins on the table. And on average, couples will spend $100 to $200 on all those linens per table. Plates and chargers, on average, couples spend $10 to $22 each. And glassware, this is glassware on the tables, not stocked at your bar. Glassware is $3 to $10 each. When it comes to setting your overall wedding budget, decor typically takes about 20 to 30% of that overall budget. Again, so many factors that go into this, as well as what your priority is, especially when it comes to decor specifically. But as kind of a baseline estimate, on average, US couples will spend about 20 to 30% of their overall wedding budget in the decor category. Now, the biggest influence on the overall cost of these decor pieces are, number one, your guest count. Obviously, this is going to play a big role when it comes to any of your guest tables. So anything that is priced per table. So centerpieces, any table settings, plates, glassware, flatware, napkins. The amount of tables you have will result in the amount of linen drapes that you need. So all of those that are directly correlated to the number of tables you have is going to be greatly influenced by your guest count. So of course, the smaller the guest count, the smaller the price tag is going to be for those items. Your overall geographic location is also going to play a very big role in this, as there are certain parts of the country that have more of a destination luxury spot known for weddings. So in Montana in general, we have become more of a destination place for weddings, but within Montana, there are specific locations like Bozeman, Montana and Big Sky, Montana that are pricier just in general than other parts of the state of Montana. So there are certain parts that just because you're having a wedding in that location, that is already going to drive the price up pretty much across the board. But there are also other factors to consider geographically as far as the accessibility to certain items. This is primarily important when it comes to florals. If you're in a location that doesn't have a lot of local florals or places that you can source specific flowers that you're looking for, that's going to make them cost more, as they're going to have to be sourced from somewhere else and pay the shipping and everything for getting flowers elsewhere. That being said, this also goes along with season. The season of your wedding is going to likely influence the cost for a lot of different things as well. Primarily for flowers, just like we talked about, florals that are not in season are going to cost more than flowers that are in season in your location. But the season can also affect the pricing for certain aspects of your wedding, as there are peak and off-season times for the wedding industry. So if you're getting married during off-season, which is typically fall and winter in most locations, sometimes you will find that certain aspects of your wedding and wedding decor will cost a little bit less, maybe a smaller delivery fee if it is off-season or things like that. The location of your specific venue itself may also play a role in some of these cost factors when it comes to decor, as primarily in the delivery and install route. So if you are getting married at a venue that is more remote and it takes a while to get there, it's not in town, it's further out, you're likely going to be paying more in delivery fees than you would for a location that is in town. Also, the venue itself will likely play a role too, as if you have a venue that is more aesthetic and kind of closer to what your overall vibe of your wedding is going to be, it's going to require a lot less decor and needing to kind of fill in that space. So you're obviously going to be spending money on the decor side if your venue already has a lot of that included or has a nice space that you don't really need to dress up. So keep that in mind as you're venue hunting. If you are looking for a lower end price tag venue, it's likely going to be a little bit more like bare bones, and then you will likely need to bring in more decor. So you might be saving money on your venue price tag, but it might cost a lot more to bring in what you need decor wise to get the design and the overall look that you want. So keep that in mind when it comes to budgeting your decor based on your specific venue. Kind of touched on this already, but overall labor costs are something that will factor into what the overall price of these different decor elements will be. Like I said, location will play a large role in these labor costs. If you're renting items from multiple rental companies, then you're going to be paying a delivery and setup fee from multiple companies. So if you are planning on renting items, try and rent as much as you can from one location, and that way you don't have to spend multiple delivery fees or install fees across the board. Other labor costs that sneak up that couples may not take into account is the overall labor costs when it comes to florals. Definitely take that into consideration when you are budgeting for your flowers. Anything that's going to require any sort of installation, meaning anything that isn't just already made in a vase that's going to set out onto tables or onto any space in your wedding, is going to require some type of labor cost. This is especially prevalent when it comes to an arch, as this is likely going to be the most labor intensive part when it comes to setting up your florals. Additionally, if you plan on having a tent or lighting, those are all going to include a labor cost associated with them as well. And finally, the day of the week could also play a role in some of your decor pricing items, primarily when it comes to labor and delivery charges, as well as some might charge a surcharge for holiday delivery or holiday pickups, or weekend charges. If you are getting married over a holiday weekend or over a weekend in general, then they might charge a little bit less on a weekday wedding as far as labor and delivery costs. Some additional ways to save when it comes to decor specific is to put your more specialty china or glassware, if you plan on having something that's a little bit more design heavy or aesthetic when it comes to your table settings, only putting that on the head table. That way you still have a piece that's kind of set apart, and it also helps make the head table stand out from the rest of the guest tables, but also you'll get documentation and photos, detailed photos of that head table, so that when you're going through your wedding photos at the end, you'll have those nice detailed photos of the head table without having to stock every single guest setting with a more specialty china or glassware or flatware. Additionally, reusing florals is key whenever possible to saving money specifically on your florals. Having things at your ceremony that are going to be easily movable so that you can repurpose them during your reception is a very easy way to save money on your florals. If you're really trying to scrimp too, limiting the labor necessary for florals is another way that you can drop this cost as well. So having something that is more self-standing rather than an install when it comes to your arch or wherever you're getting married at your altar, as this will eliminate that labor cost of having to install flowers onto the arch, as well as if they're just in vases at kind of the base of the arch or just marking where you're standing. Those are things that you can easily move and be able to repurpose into another area of your wedding. And finally, prioritizing one element when it comes to your reception decor and kind of splurging on that, and then going a little bit more simple on other elements, is a way to overall save in that overall decor when it comes to your guest tables and reception setup. So what I mean by this is maybe your venue space provides chairs, but they're just the very simple folding resin chairs. Renting a little bit more customized, nicer chair for every single table setting and having that be the piece that you are splurging a little bit more on is going to make a really big impact for just one small item. And then you don't have to do too much on the tabletops itself as far as the table settings, having anything super aesthetic or design heavy. Having that nicer chair is going to make a pretty large impact with just one small item. Additionally, you could choose to just do specialty glassware and have a nice, maybe it's a colored glass or something with like a gold rim or some kind of specialty design glass rather than just a plain clear glass water goblet on the table setting is going to also make a big impact with just that one piece. Or you could choose to focus just on your linen and have a really nice linen, whether that is a different kind of texture or fabric, or maybe it's a pattern. Having a nice linen across all of your guest tables and then just doing a little bit more simple and basic table settings and chairs is another way that you can focus on just that one element and still have a pretty large impact visually. Brainstorming and dreaming about your wedding decor is one of the most fun parts of planning a wedding, but it is one of the aspects that can definitely add up a lot when it comes to your overall wedding budget. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to get weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice, and we'll see you next week.